If you've never played Pirate101, this is a dummy's guide on how the game works. When you first start out, the music is really loud, and if you ever played Wizard101, we use the escape key to access the settings. However, with Pirate101, you have to put your mouse at the top, click options, then navigate to what you wanted to achieve. What I've been doing lately though is using Ctrl M on my keyboard to bring the Room tab, then accessing the volume through there. The first world in Pirate101 is called Skull Island. This first button lets you teleport there. To learn how to fight, you just click cards and try to hit the enemy by walking closer to them. But the fighting style also depends on what class you chose. There are 5 classes. At the very start of the gameplay, only Witch Doctor and Privateer are given an infinite range spell that you can use anywhere on the battlefield, which means early on you will have an easier time completing battles. Why didn't I start out as a privy? Bro, man's knocked him out instantly! Your starting thing is insane. Your spells are called abilities and you use them for quite a long time because as you level up you get more weapon power and that automatically applies to the damage of your spell. But in games like Wizard101, you would never see a high level using a Thunder Snake because you get more pips, but there is no such thing as a pip in Pirate101. There is also no such thing as a mana. So your spells in Pirate101 actually don't cost anything, and marking your location doesn't cost anything. Your spells will never fizzle or be blocked or dodged by the enemies, but after you use your spell it disappears in your hand and you have to be in range of the enemy to be able to target them again. When you don't use a spell and target an enemy, this is when you have the chance to fizzle, get dodged or blocked, meaning you essentially passed, and that is all up to RNG. You can decrease your chances of fizzling by purchasing gear that has accuracy. For Musketeer, they are considered the best class out of all the classes because in the later parts of the game, they get access to infinite range spells and can place bombs on the battlefield. However, in early gameplay, the only infinite range spell they get is a singular trap, which is up to RNG if the enemy walks into that. Then your gameplay style is walking a bit closer to the enemy and letting the enemy come to you so that you can shoot them. Keep in mind when you do shoot them, you're shooting from afar, meaning you're not walking closer to them in the battlefield. But classes like a Swash or a Buccaneer have to use their sword, so then they are walking closer to the enemy to do a sword fight. This is why Musketeer is considered the best class because you can play defensive and offensive at the same time by doing damage from far away. But again, at early levels you have to be close enough to the enemy but not too close to be able to use your triangle range spell effectively. This is why I actually like playing the Witch Doctor early on because it has access to an infinite range spell as well as a 3x3 spell from yourself and your platypus companion, making fights easier. Your spells are also much easier to differentiate compared to a Musketeer. But when my Musketeer and Witch Doctor catch up to each other, my Witch Doctor will have a harder time soloing compared to the most powerful class of a Musketeer. For a Buccaneer, you do have an infinite range spell, but it's your character walking all the way to the enemy. This means you would die quicker, but you have the advantage of being able to reach anywhere on the map. However, this does not mean that your companions can reach anywhere on the map. You still need to move them closer to the enemy. Companions are interesting because they automatically get healed after completing the fight, but also you would rather yourself to die rather than your companions to die. This is because your companions are much stronger than you, and once they die, you need to wait for them to revive. Another thing about battles is that they are objective focused. If the objective at the top says for you to only kill a certain boss or to break the statues, then that's all you need to do. You don't need to defeat every single enemy unless the objective tells you to. If you want to complete battles faster, turn on fast combat in the settings. When you're above level 15, you should also turn off automate companions as it just makes fights longer because your companions are using their spells ineffectively. Early on, my chatters on Twitch told me to turn the automation off, which I found that more damaging than it to be helpful. This is because I didn't know how to do the combat yet, and I took way too long trying to pick a spell to use effectively.
I mostly left them on auto for my time in Pirate 101 because they do fairly well on their own without direction, and with the limited timer, I often found myself running out of time if I manually directed them every round.
Automating your companions is a good thing at the start, and then when you figure out how to pick your spells fast, then you can turn off the automation. You can also choose the order of your companions by pressing U on the keyboard and moving them closer to the first slot. But your character will always be the first to cast, followed by the companion on your first slot, then the next. You can also move around your spells, but that only increases your chance of pulling the card you need. So when you do get up to a high level, you get a lot of cards and you do want to move the cards that you actually want closer to the first slot, but it doesn't mean that the order that you put in your deck is the order that you will pull them, it's just random. When you level up, you notice that you recruit a bunch of companions when you get through the worlds, but you never end up using all of them because you have your 3 or 4 main ones that you usually use. When your companions reach level 8, which means that your character has to be above level 8, then you can order the companions that you don't use to do the sailing task. This will allow you to buy better parts for your pirate ship so that you can travel faster. To level your companions up, you can purchase training points with gold at the Pelican Dude at the tavern. In Skull Island, the tavern has a Kraken symbol next to Eloise. You will soon notice that you'll quickly run out of gold because at a low level you're extremely broke. You also don't have a mount, and the only way to buy a permanent one is with crowns. You'll have to purchase 1-day mounts at the mount vendor if you don't want to spend crowns. That will also make you broke on gold. So if you can find someone nice enough to help gold farm with you, then that will make your Pirate 101 experience much easier. When you are training up your companions, you are able to give them a new talent. To figure out which one to choose, hover over the weapon power and it tells you what stat your companion needs. If the new talent doesn't have that stat available, just choose the accuracy so that your companion doesn't fizzle. Then when there's no more accuracy, choose either rough or tough. When choosing an epic talent, you can just read the description of what each icon gives and you will notice which ones are obvious to train. You should be upgrading your gear every 5 levels at the bazaar. It is located next to Eloise at the right of the entrance from Skull Island. Just filter the usable gear and find the one with the best stat, which is the icon that your weapon boosts on. When you're purchasing a weapon, you want the one that is your class. For a musketeer, you want a shooty weapon, witch doctor wants a staffy weapon, etc. When you first start out, you're given the type of weapon that your class already needs, so that's how you find out the type of weapon to buy. When analyzing your gear, you want to be using the ones that come with the spell. If you can't use the spell because it requires a different weapon, then you can purchase a hybrid weapon at the bazaar. For example, my witch doctor uses a staffy weapon and this sniper spell needs a shooty weapon, so I'll purchase one that says staffy shooty weapon. To sell items, you don't want to be doing it at the bazaar because it doesn't give you the most gold. To get the most, you want to go to the free trader at the spawn of Skull Island and he will be to your left. I basically just look at my gear in my backpack first and see if there are any items for me to lock and then spam the sell button. In terms of ship fighting, all you do is press spacebar to pause your ship and then spam the buttons on the bottom right or click 1, 2, 3, 4 on your keyboard. That is literally all you do, and if your ship goes below half health, then the enemy will board your ship and you just fight them normally. When you complete the fight, go over the thing they dropped to give your ship a boost to fight the next battle. When you level up, you are given better ships, but you need to purchase better parts for your new ship at the bazaar. To go faster on your ship, you need fuel. You can refuel your ship with gold, but it's very costly, which is why you really want someone to bring you gold farming. If you ended up teleporting to someone's ship and they are in a battle, you can help them fight by standing on the token and waiting for that timer to end, then move on to the next token. When your friend gets out of the battle, you can unbottle your ship at the top menu if you also wanted to do some ship fighting with them. To get your first pet, you need to do the Silly Pet Tricks quest at the spawn of Skull Island next to Avery Court. It will give you an ostrich, and to train it, click I on your keyboard and train the one that gives the most experience. While it is training, it will still help you in your fights, which is useful to do extra damage for free. Training a pet is really easy because you just do it in your backpack, but it takes insanely long for it to level up. It took me 3 days for my pet to get to adult with Mega Snacks. That is basically everything to know about Pirate101 starting on. Let me know if this video helped you, and check me out on Twitch if you want to chat with me.